Well, maybe.
And they're going to be angled.
Maybe we shouldn't put that as a condition, but they'll have a separate entrance and exit, and the designer would have to work that out as to where they are. Does that make sense? So that the alternate plan that they will be looking at would have angled parking, the entrance and exit to be.
And maybe you do, I don't know, but it just does, it looks like it'll be awful tight to get in there with a planted buffer on one side. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, you didn't take a look at, you might want to look at Duncan's little drawing.
I have the same drawing, yeah.
He's making use of of this property that's toward the library. He's making use of the property to the south. That's not, that currently doesn't have a parking lot on it.
It doesn't.
It's a little corner.
I mean, it's up to them to figure out whether they want to ask to use ingress and egress in different locations. You know, in Valley and Douglas, it doesn't really force. You know, it does. Yeah, it doesn't.
Right. Okay.
So are you ready to read that back?
Is there a second on the motion?
No. I just want to read it first, and then we'll go back and get it. Grab a second on that.
The Planning Commission approves development plan review for Balance Sport and Fitness, 16 Douglas Street. They find this is an acceptable use of the property in the CO zone. There's no need for dumpster or exterior trash. Acceptable.
Right, not a problem.
Oh, the use does not present problems. Present a problem for the neighborhood.
No additional special licensing.
For the use. So those are 4 conditions of approval.
Those are 4 findings of fact.
I'm sorry, there's 4 findings of fact. There's 5 conditions of approval. The parking will be redesigned with angled parking entering towards Valley Street and exiting on Douglas Street for 8 spaces with a planting buffer, or as otherwise recommended and approved by the town engineer and the town planner. 2 street trees shall be planted, 3-inch caliber. Work with the tree warden to select species. The lighting shall meet code and is shielded from adjacent properties. Signage meets code. And
Water and sewer.
parking signage, enter only and exit only signs shall be placed. The approval is conditioned on approval by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners.
And reviewed administrative.
And the conditions of approval shall be approved administratively prior to final development plan approval.
Yes, there's a motion as presented by Nancy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Richard. All in favor?
Right.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, now we need a second motion, and this will be a recommendation to zoning to approve 2 variances which have been requested. One be the side yard setback relief, and the second would be the variance necessary for parking, because parking cannot be accommodated in the rear of the building since there is an adequate space. So anybody want to take the time for that motion?
No, that's pretty easy to do. You just pick up the other one. Nobody else is willing to do it. I'll do it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On the, is the fence, is the fence an acceptable buffer?
It is an acceptable buffer.
It is? Okay. And it doesn't have to have any planting on it or anything?
It doesn't have to, no.
Do we have a guideline for the design of the fence?
No, we don't. Yeah. It would be nice to see it. But I thought that you wanted a planting strip. Is that?
Well, I mean, I think that we would all prefer a planted buffer there if we can have it. But if we can't have it, and we have a fence there, probably want to see something different than some metal fence or something, I guess. Chain link, whatever.
Right, yeah, you could certainly specify this.
Maybe you could match the
General style.
playground fence or something.
The library is possibly.
In pastels.
Yeah. Pastels that match business card. But it would be, my question was, is the fence an acceptable buffer?
It is, but I don't know whether that's part of the program anymore, so you should specify that if it is.
No, we do have, that whole area is just left hanging a bit. You know, it depends on which way they go, whether they're going to end up with a fence or whether they're going to come back with a buffer, and we haven't actually specified anything about that little planted buffer. But I'm wondering if we should add a condition that if it's a buffer, that it's a planted buffer. I don't want to make it more difficult to have that.
No, it's in there as part of the conditions.
The planted buffer with the angled parking. Okay.
Planted, but yeah, planted buffer.
And normally we wouldn't necessarily go any further than that. We don't need to see that. Well, this is all going to come back to you guys anyway.
Right.
Okay. Did you want to do anything with that? Nothing, or you, okay. Try it? Okay, I make a motion that we recommend that the zoning board, in the case of the Balanced Sport and Fitness, 16 Douglas Street, grant the requested relief for number 1, side yard setback, and 2, parking not in the rear of the building. I don't quite know what to call it, the side of it or the front, but to grant the 2 variances, one for side yard setback relief and the other for parking close to the street. And I'd like to incorporate all the whereases from the previous motion and the conditions from the previous motion. Does that work?
Second.
Yeah, are you all,
You are.
as far as using the same findings and the same conditions, we're okay with that?
I'm fine with that, because what we would normally do is provide both correspondence pieces to the zoning board. We can lump it all into one.
Even though they're redundant, they
memorandum.
don't apply exactly, that's fine, okay. All right, so there's your motion, and we need a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Barry, all in favor? Anybody opposed? No one's opposed, so that motion passes unanimously. So, Pat, Jason, you're on to zoning. You've got a lot of work to do, so make sure you see Lisa first thing or at the earliest meetings to make sure you get all that list done. There's a short schedule.
Sure. Thank you guys for your time and your recommendation. Should we,